Hi guys, it's me, Radiger, author of every single SCP except for the one in this video today. Today I'm going to talk to you about an SCP article, but instead of just telling you what happens, like basically every other SCP channel, I'm going to dissect this thing like a frog in biology class. I'm gonna Y-incision this article and pull out all its organs. I'm going to show you how everything works and why. Because this is an analysis channel, baby! This is a channel for real fucking nerds. And in this video, I'm featuring one of my favorite horror articles, SCP-5798, An Interview with the Drain Snake by J. Dune, acclaimed author of 5035, The Freedman. Before Yossi published the legendary and sickening 8980, 5798 was my favorite horror article. Even though the two are not entirely comparable, since 5798 is really more of a black comedy, 5798 tells the story of a shuttered YMCA that serves as the home of a sapient tentacle creature that can communicate in English and is very persuasive. An unfortunate and overworked junior researcher is assigned to work the case and ends up venting to the monster about how much his life and job suck. SCP-5798 persuades junior researcher Haddow to join it inside the drain, advertising its world as everything the researcher could ever want. When junior researcher Haddow agrees, the article ends with a gratuitous moment-by-moment description of a human body being pulled feet first through a shower drain. I've never finished reading it. I hate gore. It freaks me the fuck out. Great article, 10 out of 10. So let's break this sucker down. The first thing we see on the page is this big classification notice and our anomaly classification bar. This first bit is flavor. It adds some immersion and legitimacy and pulls us into the world. We have our number and our classification level. And look here, see how it's all green? Even if you don't know what the different categories are, the color alone already signals to you that this anomaly is relatively harmless comparatively. We have safe, dark, and notice. That means this thing is simple to contain, unlikely to cause widespread disruption, and not especially dangerous. The photo down below is a brightly lit shot of a mundane location, and we can see there's no assigned task force. What does all this do? It tells us that this thing is chill. It's fine. You're totally safe. Nothing bad is going to happen here. Don't worry about it. Now for our special containment procedures, or conprocs if you're nasty. These are short. The Foundation is essentially doing nothing but preventing people from going inside the building. That's it. Easy. Conprocs are typically where the hook and foreshadow live. So with these being so short, what's the hook? What are we building up to? It's barely giving us anything at all. Or is it? This article is a good example of a story that works within existing schema about how SCPs operate. We expect long conprocs, or at least longer than this. This section is only 2 sentences long. If you've been reading SCPs for a long time, that's a signal that something is up. By being so short and so simple and having virtually nothing to it, J. Dune is building to something. Sometimes, a hook into the story can be a suspicious absence of something. Let's move on to our description. The first sentence here is an indicator of what we're in for in terms of tone. This feels like a comedy. It's a drain snake. You know, like the thing you use to clean out your drain, only this time it's a creature. And it's in Florida, because of course it is. But then we get farther into the description and it starts to get gross. An entire building's worth of fleshy mass. It makes you feel suddenly aware of the presence of pipes all around you. Lots of pipes in a YMCA, what with all the toilets and swimming pools and everything. Lots of pipes. Lots of creature. In this sentence, J. Dune specifies small blonde hairs, which is so familiar and mammalian as to induce even more discomfort. It builds a vivid mental image of what this fleshy thing might feel like to touch. The following paragraph builds more of a picture of the creature that, albeit still kinda gross, is a little funny and mostly non-threatening. It comes out of a shower drain in the men's locker room. It's gotta have skinny little appendages to get through those holes. Look at that picture. And after that is a single-sentence paragraph. Single-sentence paragraphs are often used to denote singular importance or emphasis of a specific idea. In this case, the entire description is building to this, meaning the fact that it can speak English is vitally important information to note going into the next section. It's written as though speaking English is the most dangerous thing that it can do. Now personally, I don't think that this parenthetical is strictly necessary, considering we lead straight into that addendum, but it does tie the incident specifically to the detail that the anomaly speaks English, and that's interesting because of this word. Incident. Because incident is code for something bad happening. This subheading puts us into the headspace that whatever happens next is not going to be good, but the previous information gives us almost no indication as to what exactly that's going to be, which is great for providing the tension that pushes the story forward. Like any good horror, we know just enough to be nervous, but not enough to see everything coming. Let's examine that log. The interview log format is familiar. We've seen loads of these. Although the SCP Wiki prides itself on its clinical format being a more grounded, framing device for stories about monsters, I'm sure I don't have to tell you that sometimes the fictional whitecoats interviewing our creatures and monsters don't come across as realistic people at all. And that's fine. Not every article is a character study. This one isn't a character study either, but JDune does ground it in reality by mentioning things like 7-Eleven and research credits. Little everyday mundanities that the audience of the SCP Wiki are familiar with. There's some fun acknowledgement of the format itself, with Haddow remarking on the ridiculous nature of talking to a drain monster, and this good-natured dig about the silliness of SCPs in general, and some comedy in 5798 speaking like an extroverted stranger you just met at the bar. And then this paragraph hits, and we're really in Haddow's shoes. Debt, no paid vacation days, no prospects of retirement. Haddow rants about his lack of love life, being lonely, being overworked at his shitty job. The ultimate level of relatability to a lot of Americans. The drain snake, a tentacle flesh creature who lives in the pipes of an abandoned YMCA, has a better life than this poor bastard. And then it says, I got it all down here. And the alarm bells start to ring. 5798 describes the dream of every overworked wage slave. Sleep as much as you want, watch movies, play video games, listen to podcasts, play World of Warcraft. It can do anything that you can do with the internet. Don't you want that too, you depressed, exhausted bastard? Don't you also want to rot on your computer for a while and not have to worry about paying off your student loans? I bet you do. I bet that sounds really nice sometimes. But this is an SCP. And this is an incident log. We know this isn't going to end well. And we know that Haddow's going to take the deal because of course he would. The real clincher comes when Haddow mentions wanting to be a writer, and 5798 telling him he'd have all the time in the world. All the time in the world to sit and write. And you know who is reading this story? Writers. Any of us would take that deal, but it's too good to be true. And then, for 6 gruesome paragraphs, we are treated to a stomach-turning play-by-play of Haddow's body being forced through those tiny little holes that JDune showed us in that picture earlier. Like so much Play-Doh being extruded through a pasta maker. It's really gross! And then, it bookends itself, ending the exact way it started. A short, sparse, 2-sentence paragraph telling us that the drain snake can now use researcher Haddow's voice, and that it claims it doesn't remember him at all, confirming that its persuasion was a hunting strategy all along. So why is this so effective? Contrast. Juxtaposition. By keeping the rest of the article light and fun and silly, the violence and gore are much more stark in comparison. Imagine a version of this article where it's just grimdark all the way through. Red and orange marks in the classification bar. The Conprox tells us something about armed guards watching the monster and nobody is allowed to speak to it without a licensed therapist and 3 more armed guards. The description gives us details about how it's dangerous and deadly, and we get redacted numbers of the people who died before the Foundation got a hold of it. And then at the end, it kills a guy. That would suck. That's just a monster that kills you. And I don't know about you, viewer, but here in the big 2025, I'm not terribly compelled by monster that kills you. But monster that plays Warcraft and asks your consent before turning you into hot dog slurry feet first? That rips. That's great. We go in expecting something to go wrong, and it goes so much more wrong than we expect. It's the exact opposite of the early practice of redacting all of the violence. Nah, bitch. You get to see all of the violence. You get to see all the violence. Way more than you wanted or signed up for. All the information and detail that are missing from the Conprox and description are funneled into this gory sludge fest. So overall, what makes this article effective horror is JDune's manipulation of tone. A light tone to contrast with dark events. Playing with your story's tone is a great way to make the emotion hit harder. A bleak horror turned into a dry comedy. A romance that turns into suffocating terror. A cold science fiction that becomes an understated, gut-wrenching tragedy. Some of the best horror is threaded with other emotions, and it's better for it. Tell me your favorite underrated horror SCP in the comments. This might become a new series because I want to talk about lesser-known SCPs, and I also want to talk about the writing techniques that make them effective so that you can write effective SCPs as well. I can't promise that I'm going to take requests because I'm frankly just really bad at keeping track of people's requests. I'll probably start off just talking about articles that I like. Like and subscribe if you're an SCP and writing nerd like me. And join my Patreon if you want to get videos early. Or don't. I'm not in charge of you. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye.